Well, good morning, Discovery. Happy snow day. We hope that you are warm and safe wherever you're at. Man, I'm so thankful for technology that we still get to meet with you, to see you virtually, to worship together. So wherever you're at, I encourage you to stand, whether that's in your living room, wherever that is. Man, we still get to worship and to experience the goodness and the presence of our God. And whatever you're believing for today, maybe there's something you need to give over, to release to God. Believe that He is truly the one that is capable, that is able to do that. And that is a reason to worship and to praise Him. So let's worship Him together.
He's the one who turned the water to wine. He's the one who gave back sight to the blind. He's the one, only He can do it. He's the one. He's the one. He's the author of life. He's the one who caused the dead things to rise. He's the one, and I've seen Him do it. He never fails, He never will, He never stops making a way. I will sing of what the Lord can do. He's never changed, He never will, He never stops making a way. I will sing of what the Lord can do. Oh, I will sing. Sing that again. Sing, He's the one. He's the one who rolled the stone, who put death in its place. He's the one, and He did it for me. He never fails, He never will, He never stops making a way. I will sing of what the Lord can do. He's never changed, He never will, He never stops making a way. I will sing of what the Lord can do. It's who He is, it's what He does. So keep calling His name. He did it then, He'll do it now. So keep lifting your faith. It's who He is, it's what He does. So keep calling His name. He did it then, He'll do it now. So keep lifting your faith. It's who He is, it's what He does. So keep calling His name. He did it then, He'll do it now. So keep lifting your faith. He never fails,
Amen. Well, I'm so grateful that He is never failing, that He is able to do so much more than what we can imagine. Well, hey, my name is Kate. I'm so glad that you're here tuning in online. Like I said, I hope you're staying cozy and warm and safe out there. We're so glad that you're here with us. We know we're not in person, but we have our team in the chat ready to meet you, to help you get connected here at Discovery. So say hey, put your name in the chat, make yourself known this morning. Well, the next time you're in person, we have awesome ways for you to be connected, one of which is our Lunch with Leaders, and this is every first Sunday of the month. So coming up in February, we have a Lunch with Leaders. Free childcare is provided, and a time for you to meet new people here at Discovery, to get to meet our team as well, learn what we're all about, where we believe that God is taking us in the future. We also want to encourage you, with the new year, we have new rhythms such as groups starting up. So there are many Discovery groups such as Rooted, which is a special 10-week experience. We have activity groups that are specialized to certain stages of life and activities to be a part of, and overall Discovery groups. Whatever group you might find yourself in, I promise you that is worth it, is worth plugging in and being a part of a group this season. Well, coming up for our ladies, February 10th, we have our Galentine's event. I encourage you to check this out. You can learn more about this event, just ways to kind of unwind, relax, connect to other ladies here at Discovery. You can find out about this event and all other events on our website right under the events tab. We'll also link it in the chat as well for you. Well, we're going to continue in worship, but I want to encourage you to just take a moment to consider a different form of worship through giving. And when we give, this truly is an act of saying, God, we trust you with what you have given us. And we give that back to you with joy. We give that back to you with confidence that you will do so much more than what we can do on our own. So we'll link a digital giving option in the chat for you this morning. Well, we're going to continue in a moment of worship, and we're closing out our baggage series today, talking about how we truly never walk alone. So let's worship with that in mind, that we have a good Father that is walking alongside of us. Your heart is for me. Your ear is listening. I'm safe in your love. Your army of angels watch over me. Oh, He's always present. You're always present. You're always with me. For all of my life, your favor has followed my covering. I have never walked alone, never been abandoned. You are my inheritance. You are my strength and shield, and I have confidence. You go before me. You're my deliverer.
every hour. Every hour, every minute, you have always been there. You are faithful, and you always will be. Every triumph, every failure, you are loyal to me. You are faithful, and you always will be. Every hour, every hour, every minute, you have always been there. You are faithful, and you always will be. Every triumph, every failure, you are loyal to me. You are faithful, and you always will be. You are faithful, and you always will be. I have never walked alone. I've never been abandoned. You are my inheritance. You are my strength and shield, and I have confidence. You go before me. You're my deliverer. I know I never walk alone. Never been abandoned. You are my inheritance. You are my strength and shield, and I have confidence. You go before me. You're my deliverer. I know I never walk alone. Every hour, every minute, you have always been there. You are faithful, and you always will be. Every triumph, every failure, you are loyal to me. You are faithful, and you always will be. You are faithful, and you always will be. You are faithful, and you always will be.
God, we thank you for your faithfulness. We thank you that we truly never walk alone in this life. God, I pray for all of the hearts on the other side of the screen that they would just be able to truly rest in that today, that they would be able to truly know who you are for them, that you are a good Father that sees them. And truly, God, you just want us to come to you and to lay things down right at your feet. So God, may we have the confidence, may we have the faith to do that today, that we would be able to lay that down and step into a life that is restored and renewed and redeemed. In your name that we pray. Amen.
Well, what's up, Discovery? As Kate said, we are wrapping up today our baggage series, which means we're starting a new series next week. But not only are we starting a new series next week, guess what? We are starting a brand new service at Discovery, and we've been talking about this and planning and praying for this day for so long, and it's here. I can't believe it. Thursday night, the 29th, we are having our very first Thursday night service. And I've heard already a lot of people kind of talking about it and planning on being here. I was talking to a mom recently this week who was having her kids here playing on our playground. And she said, I heard about this Thursday night service, and we are coming because it really fits well into our schedule. Our weekends are packed. Maybe you know someone as well in your world who needs Thursday night church for them. So we encourage you to invite. Personal invitations are always the best way of reaching people for Jesus. Now listen, we're going to do something right now. What I want to encourage you, we're going to have something come up on the screen right now. If you are on Facebook or if you are on Instagram, this QR code will take you to a place where you can choose which one, or maybe both, where you can share out an invitation to your network of people about the Thursday night service. So would you just take a few moments right now to go ahead and just share that out. Take your camera on your phone, scan that QR code. It'll take you to the place where you can share that invitation out. All right, let's do that. Let's get the word even more out there about what's going on. So I'm not teaching today. I've taught the last 3 weeks on the baggage series, been going through the book of Exodus. And today I am so excited because we're going to get a chance to hear from a different voice. Someone who is coming not from a pastor's standpoint or a Bible scholar, but someone who has sat with many, many people in the midst of their addictions, whether it's process addictions or substance addictions. Her name is Jill Phillips. She's a local. She's in Beaver Falls. She is the founder and a professional counselor at JP Counseling Center. And so you may even get that link and save that for someone or for you who it might be a good connection for you. But we're really honored that she's going to spend some time and able to work around her schedule during Snowmageddon. So we're really excited. I hope you will get a chance to really just lean in to the words of Jill Phillips.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you guys so much for having me here today. I am so excited to be here to talk about addiction and recovery. These are some of the most exciting things that I get to talk about. But I'm really grateful to be here to share with you my experiences, some of my knowledge, and talk about this issue. I am a counselor. I've been working in the addictions field for a long time. I usually say I've been doing this type of work since MC Hammer was too legit to quit. So some of you will get that reference. If you're not really familiar with Hammer Time, it might be safe to say I've been doing this work longer than you've been alive. So in that time period, I have been able to work with hundreds and hundreds of individuals and families and see so many people get better. I've also seen the very difficult, heartbreaking side of addictions. And not everybody, unfortunately, does get better. But we keep plugging forward because there is hope and people are dealing with addictions and really making miracles happen. So that's what we're going to focus on today. I'm really grateful to be here to talk to you guys because we in my world talk about addictions as a biopsychosocial spiritual disorder. And that spiritual part at the end is the part we tend to miss the most. So we tend to look at the biology and what's happening socially, but we miss how important this spiritual piece is. So the fact that your little church family has decided to tackle this issue and really look at it head on is absolutely amazing to me. So good job with that. So let's talk about this biopsychosocial spiritual disorder. First of all, we're talking about different addictions. And just to lay the groundwork, people, when they think about addictions, also often think initially about the substance uses. So we have some pretty common ones. We know that people become addicted to alcohol. People become addicted to marijuana. These are the ones we see most commonly. We're also in the middle of an opioid epidemic. So we're seeing lots of things like Percocet, Vicodin, Oxycontin, heroin, but moreover, what we're seeing now is fentanyl and causing really significant damage to our community and to our families. Part of this opioid epidemic is a move toward an increase in stimulants also. So we'd like to think that people would say, oh, opiates might kill me. I should stop using drugs. But actually what we tend to think is opiates might kill me. What could I use that maybe is safer? And so we see people moving more to stimulants, and we've seen a huge uptick in things like cocaine, things like ADHD medicines like Ritalin or Adderall. And then also something very new for our little part of the world here in Western Pennsylvania is methamphetamine. So we're seeing lots of increases in that. There's also other street drugs and some things you may hear of. We don't hear them as frequently, but we're hearing more. Things like xylazine, things like medetomidine. And these substances are really wreaking havoc on the individuals and the families that are being impacted by them. So we have all this substance use, but we also have what we call these process addictions, and a lot of other addictions fall into this. Things like food and sex, gambling, gaming, scrolling, social media, those types of things. Those types of addictions, some of which we've studied enough to say, yes, this can be a disorder, and some of which we're still working on. But I think we know sometimes when we see the behaviors, it doesn't always look good, right? So as we talk about addictions and recovery today, those are kind of the things we're focusing on, the substances, but also the behaviors, because they both really wreak havoc on what happens to us. So let's break down that biopsychosocial, spiritual model. Let's talk with the biology. So one of the things we know is that some people do have a genetic predisposition to addictive behaviors. We have seen this in families. We know it tends to run in families. And so some people are predisposed genetically. And I think that's important to remember, because addiction is not a moral failing. It's not a lack of willpower. There are actual things that happen in the brain that cause us to have certain behaviors. That means there are certain things in the brain that can cause us to fix those behaviors too, and we need to remember that. So we know that there are some genetic predispositions. Here's what we don't know. We know that it runs in families. We don't know why it skips around sometimes. So I, for example, come from a long line of alcohol use disorder folks. And I joke facetiously that when I went away to college, I tried really hard to follow the family tradition, become an alcoholic. It did not take for me by the grace of God. And so why is that? Why did that gene not follow me, but followed other people in my family? Those are biological things we're still trying to figure out. Here's what else we know about addictions when it comes to the biology. When we use substances or we participate in certain behaviors, it actually changes the brain chemistry. And we know this by doing all these studies and looking at all those different colors that pop up in the brain when we're doing certain things. So it kind of makes sense that if we use certain substances, the brain changes. But what we've also found is that certain behaviors, particularly if they're done frequently, will also make those same changes. So you can look at a brain scan of someone who's using cocaine and a brain scan of someone who's gambling, and you'll see the same types of stuff happening. So we have to remember that there are actual changes in the brain. And that's, again, why it's important to remember this is not a moral failing. This is sometimes how our bodies function. Also means that it can be changed. That's an important thing to remember too. So when we move to the next, I always see these as like a big pie. These are 4 different slices of the pie. So the next slice of the pie would be psychological. And I do a whole series called Chicken or Egg. Which comes first? Is it the substance use or the addictive behaviors, or is it some of these mental health traits that we have? And I should go back real quick to mention 2 things. One is when we look at these behaviors, we always look at a continuum. So if you think of a behavior that you may have concern about, all the way down on this end of the continuum is people who are just using a little bit here and there, really has no impact on their life negatively. And we can move all the way up to the continuum to here where we actually have an actual disorder, where it's something that's significantly impacting their lives. So we do the same with our psychological components, as we say this person has some depression, but it's way down here on the continuum, or this person is further up on the continuum where it's really, really significant. So we look at that continuum of both substance use and mental health traits. I I think it's important to note that not everyone who has substance use issues or has mental health traits has an actual diagnosis or disorder. So I always say there's only two reasons that people like me give people a diagnosis. One is it does help us kind of have a roadmap to help people get better. We treat people with depression differently than we treat people with anxiety. The treatments are different, so we need to know that so we know we're going in the right direction. The second reason, it's the only way insurance companies pay us. The point to that is having a diagnosis or knowing where someone is on the continuum is just a way to help us get them better. It should not be a label, and it's certainly not all they are. The other thing we look at with addiction, the way we recognize someone who's here on the continuum as opposed to here, is what are the consequences they have. If they're on social media a lot and they're scrolling, and they're still taking care of their families and they're happily engaged and they go to work and they do everything they're supposed to do, they have a good spiritual connection and relationship with God, then hey, it's all good, right? But if that social media scrolling is pulling them away from family, isolating them, causing them to feel agitated or not sleep as much as they should, now we're looking at consequences. And that's how we know that there's an issue going on. So these mental health traits and substance use go hand in hand. And which comes first, chicken or the egg? Sometimes there's substance use or addictive behaviors, and that leads to depression or anxiety or trauma. Or sometimes those things come first, and people try to use a substance or a behavior to try to help them feel better. In many ways, it doesn't really matter which came first. What matters is the person that is sitting in front of you and what they're dealing with right now and how we try to help them. That next piece of the pie is the social piece of pie. So in my world, as an addictions counselor, we talk about this in words of people, places, and things. So who are the people, the places, and the things that impact your behaviors, your use of the substance, or your gambling, or your sex addiction, whatever it is? What are these elements that affect that? And then how do we deal with them? So we look at the people, places, and things. People are usually pretty easy to identify. Places, pretty easy to identify. Things, when we look at things, we look at certain events. You know, when I go to weddings and there's a lot of alcohol, I tend to drink too much. Those types of events. But we also look at when I get bored, I tend to start to scroll on my phone more than I think is appropriate. When I get upset, I tend to go to the casino. So we look at those types of events, whether it's a feeling or an event, and what impacts us to those behaviors. Those are things that we're trying to look at in this social piece of pie. The other thing that enters in here in the social aspect is accessibility. So we know with gambling, for example, if we look at casinos, here's a casino, and we draw a big circle around it, we know that inside that circle are higher levels of pathological gambling or problem gambling. There's higher levels of that than there are outside of the circle. It has to do with accessibility. We've seen this in our society over the last years with marijuana, for example. We see a lot more use of marijuana because it's much more accessible. It's because it's more accessible and we see more use, we're seeing higher rates of marijuana use disorder. Same with online gambling. Now that online gambling is legal and you can do your sports betting or whatnot from the comfort of your own home, right in your comfy bed, we see higher levels of problematic online gambling. So part of that social aspect is the accessibility of things, and we need to be aware of that. That last piece of the pie, cream of the crop, I say, is the spiritual part. And when we're talking about spirituality and connection to addictions, we're really talking about what is my purpose? What am I doing here? What is my value? And so sometimes people struggle with that and it leads them to addictive behaviors. We've probably seen that before. But we also know that sometimes people have addictive behaviors and they disconnect from their spiritual connection. We see that a lot of times. And so we want to be attentive to that. People who are actively engaged in addictive behaviors often forget what their value or worth is. And so that is an important element that we can't miss when we're dealing with addictions. So, how do we know if someone is dealing with an addiction? How do we know where they are on that continuum? So there's a couple questions you can ask yourself, or you can ask a loved one, or answer for a loved one, maybe. Maybe you're going to do it that way. But a couple of simple questions. It's called the CAGE, C-A-G-E. And this was originally developed for alcohol use disorder as a screening tool, but we can apply it to other addictions. So the C in CAGE stands for cutting back. So think about whatever the behavior is, whether it's the use of a substance or a behavior. Have you ever tried to cut back and weren't able to do so? So did you ever say, when I go out tonight, I'm going to have 6 drinks, and you ended up having 10 drinks? Or I'm not going to have any, and you ended up drinking. Have you ever gone and said, I'm going to do a social media cleanse, and I'm not going to have any social media use for the next week? And by day 2, you're scrolling away. So if you're trying to cut back and those attempts are difficult, it's a red flag. It does not mean that you have an addiction. It's a red flag. It might mean something needs to be assessed. Take a look at it. The A in CAGE stands for annoyed. When people ask you about the behavior, do you get annoyed? When someone says, oh, isn't that your 4th cupcake? If you get annoyed with their question, might be a red flag. Right? If someone says, well, you went to the casino yesterday and you're going back today, might be annoyed. If you're annoyed, red flag, might be something to take a look at. The G stands for guilty. So along with guilt with addictive behaviors comes natural guilt. Guilt is supposed to be a natural sign to us that we need to take a look at what we're doing. If you feel guilty about a certain behavior or about how much time you've spent on the behavior or how much money you've spent on the behavior or whatnot, that's a red flag, something to take a look at. And the E stands for eye-opener. So remember, this was developed for people around alcohol use disorder. And many people with an alcohol use disorder, the next morning, first thing they do is reach for a drink because they have the shakes or they have a hangover or whatever it is, they need another drink to kind of get them going. We can apply this to other things. If the first thing you do before you even get out of bed is grab your phone and start looking at social media, that could be a red flag. If the first thing you do in the morning as you grab your coffee is you take a look at what sports bets you placed last night and see where you are, that might be a red flag to take a look at. So you can remember that, the CAGE, it's a pretty easy one. If there are any red flags in those questions, if any yeses to any of those 4, then maybe talk to someone. You can reach out to someone here at Discovery. You could check in with a counselor. Just sit with someone in a non-judgmental way who will really listen to you and be able to talk things through with you honestly. So that leads me to the next part, which is how do people get better? Recovery happens for people all the time, and it's one of the most amazing things to see. When I used to run these halfway house programs years ago, when the men would come in from off the streets, or maybe they'd come from jail, but they'd come in, and on day 1, we always took their picture with this old Polaroid camera. And then when they would leave in about 6 months, because they were there for long-term treatment, we'd pull that picture out and look at them, and they actually even looked like different people. Like the whole change in them was pretty amazing. And that's what we're looking for. That recovery is absolutely possible. And so what do? We go back and look at that same pie that we looked at, the biopsychosocial and the spiritual. So from a biological perspective, we know that brain chemistry has changed. And so we want to figure out how to reverse that. Sometimes that requires abstinence from a behavior or a substance. Sometimes it requires cutting back or having some controlled use. Whatever it is, we need to take a look at that. Sometimes medications can help, particularly when it comes to opiates. They've found certain medications that are really particularly helpful for people. Little controversial sometimes, but can be very helpful and an option for people who want to consider them. So things like methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, these are important components of the biology. When we look at the psychological, We need to address everything that's going on with that person. Like I said, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Not necessarily very important. We need to look at who's in front of us right now and what are they dealing with now. And those are the issues that we want to address. So with the psychological things, if they're also experiencing depression, anxiety, signs of PTSD, we want to focus on and help them resolve those things. I always think about this gentleman I worked with years ago. We'll call him Jack. And Jack had been in and out of treatment more times than I can count. And he was an expert, really, at what addiction was and how to live a life of recovery. But he couldn't stay sober more than a day or two outside of a structured environment. And what became clear over time is that he knew what to do when it came to substance use, but he had unresolved issues around trauma that were in the heart. I always say that those are in the heart. And without getting those resolved, he was destined to continue that same routine. So we need to look at the whole person and take care of everything that's going on with them from a physical and a psychological perspective. When we talk about what's in the social, then we look at those people, places, and things. What is in our control? A lot of things in this life are not in our control, right? But usually I have a little bit of control over who the people are that I surround myself with, the places that I choose to go to, and what I do when I have certain feelings or certain events that I'm exposed to. So that's what we're looking at in the social. We're looking at really helping people develop skills to become aware and then put plans into place of how they can deal with things. And then that's spiritual. Again, cream of the crop, most important. We need to help people fill back up their cup of hope, recognize their worth, find their meaning. And sometimes the meaning for today is just to stay sober. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So what can you do? This is what I'd like to leave you with today, because people often say to me, I don't know what to do. I have this person I care about, and they're struggling, but they don't even see it. And what can I do? So here's a couple things that I will leave you with. Number one, you can always support recovery. So I always say we should never talk about addiction without talking about recovery. When we talk about addiction, we're talking about a lot of pathology and problems and negative. And that's not all there is, because this world of recovery is absolutely possible and amazing. So as loved ones, as family members, we can always support that recovery. Now, what we don't want to support is addictive behaviors. So this word enabling in our field has gotten a really bad rap. You don't want to enable people. Well, what we don't want to enable are negative addictive behaviors, because what we're doing is helping people stay sick, and we don't want to do that. It's not honoring their worth. We can always enable recovery. That is helping to build people up. So, for example, if a loved one says, I need to go to a meeting, but I don't have a ride. I need to go to a treatment meeting, a recovery meeting. Then it's okay to enable them by giving them a ride to that meeting. Now, if they say, I'm out of money and I want to go get high, can I borrow some money? That's the type of enabling we don't want to do. So it's always okay to support recovery. We don't need to cut people out of our lives in most cases. We can still love them. And that leads me to another thing. There's an organization called Al-Anon, and Al-Anon focuses on people who are family members and loved ones of people dealing with addiction. And one of the things they teach in Al-Anon is to detach with love. So first of all, I always say if we could love everybody into sobriety, the whole world would be sober. But it does take more than that. But love is extremely important. But we have to be able to love someone and also detach. Detaching means not supporting their negative behaviors, not helping support behaviors that will keep them sick. It also means stepping aside to make sure I'm okay. In working with addictions for many years, there have been times when I met a family and I thought, wow, the family is actually sicker than the person with the addiction. And that can happen, that dynamic can happen. It comes from a place of love. But we need to detach and really be supportive of ourselves and what's going on. Addiction is very hard, not only on the person that's using, but also on the family. And be honest. It's always okay to say, hey, I am worried about you. I think you're drinking too much. I think you're ignoring your family because you're on your phone too much. I think you're gambling too much. Whatever it is, and I am worried about you. It's always okay to be honest about that. My hope for you today is that you were all someplace very safe and very warm, both physically and spiritually today, and that you've gotten some information, some of which you've probably heard before, maybe a little bit that's new, but that you can go back and take a look at what's going on with you and what's going on with the people that you love, and make the world a better place. I'm so honored to be able to be here with you today, and thank you so much.
Well, I'm so thankful for Jill and her message to challenge us, but also to encourage us. And it's really my hope that this whole baggage series has really just kind of tugged on your heart. And maybe it's surfaced things in your life that maybe you really just need to lay at the feet of Jesus. And we're going to continue today by taking communion. And that's exactly what communion is. It thinks on the sacrifice of Jesus, his body and his blood that was broken and poured out for our brokenness, for our pain, for our sin, in hopes that we have new life, we have redemption through him. So I know we're in our homes, but we can take communion anywhere. We are in the presence of God wherever we are at. So I encourage you to go throughout your home, find an element of juice or water, whatever that might be, to pour a little bit in a cup. Maybe you're sharing with your friends and family around you, and to grab a piece of bread or a cracker, even a tortilla, whatever works, to just kind of fix your eyes on those elements of the sacrifice of Jesus. And as we take these elements, think about how the blood of Jesus literally covers your pain, your brokenness, and how the breaking of the bread, the breaking of his body, also connects to your brokenness, and it brings you a hope. It brings you a redemption through his sacrifice and through the hope of heaven. So let's take a moment to consider Jesus' sacrifice and his love. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, Discovery. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.